What is going on, guys? So I've already reviewed this issue and the microphone wasn't on, so, you know. What is going on, guys? Welcome to this video. My name is Cameron and today we are reviewing Ultimate Spider-Man issue 72. So in the previous issue we saw Spider-Man going up against all of these nightmarish things that seem to be real. They were kind of throwing in pieces of Peter's life that were going to pretty much traumatize him, considering the part with Mary Jane actually saying to Peter Parker that he's going to get her killed and that's going to affect their relationship. But this issue actually takes us into something completely different. We are going to be seeing the return of Harry Osborn, and we actually have a little bit of a throwback. We have a little bit of, like flashbacks to like previously when Spider-Man was first bitten by the spider and stuff. So yeah, and a little bit of a twist between Harry Osborn and Mary Jane. So gets a little bit complicated and a little bit out of the blue. Like, it's a little bit of a twist, which is actually okay considering how far we are into the Ultimate Spider-Man series, and considering what's just happened in the previous issue. Peter's feelings are actually going to be affected by not only against Mary Jane and all of that crazy stuff, but now that this is coming around as well, just you'll have to read and see. So without any further ado, guys, let's get into this review and let's do it. So the issue opens up with it taking us all the way back to issue 1 of Ultimate Spider-Man when Peter was first bitten by the spider, and we actually see it from a very different perspective. This issue is actually pretty crazy and a little bit weird as well. Now, I'll actually discuss that in a second, but for now, I just want to talk about like the nostalgic effect that this comic brings over you. Like, we are now 73 issues into this Ultimate Spider-Man series, and right now we're getting a look at what the characters used to be like all the way back at issue 1. And the reason why it's so nostalgic is because these characters have changed so much over the course of like 70 issues. Especially Flash, Kong, and Mary Jane, and especially Peter Parker. Like, obviously he's changed the most, and what's crazy is that you look at these characters and you see that they are the same characters, but you just get a completely different vibe off these characters as they're stood there. They kind of stand differently. It's almost like they are old-fashioned. It's really weird. And I love how Brian Michael Bendis chose to do this nostalgic sort of throwback in this issue, because over 70 issues, you've sort of forgotten about how these characters used to be before Peter became Spider-Man and all of this other crazy stuff happened. So it's really nice that we're getting that throwback, reminding us how far these characters have actually come. Now, going into what's happening on screen, we've got this really twisted craziness that's going on, where it actually turns out that Harry was dating, or at least kind of seeing Mary Jane before she started dating Peter. And just reading the issue and seeing what's going on, you get a sense that Harry Osborn is sort of just using Mary Jane. You know, because he doesn't want to sit with her in public, because clearly Harry is the rich kid, is the popular kid, and then Mary Jane is like the nerd that's like secretly hot. So I don't know about you guys, but you get a very rough perspective on the relationship between Harry Osborn and Mary Jane, and you can tell that Harry Osborn isn't necessarily a bad person, but in this comic he sort of comes across like he's using Mary Jane. He comes across as like this villain, like this rich kid that's kind of using her or whatever, and it's really strange because when you see Harry and Mary Jane together in the earlier issues, you know, when Mary Jane is going out with Peter, you don't even get the feeling that these guys used to date each other. But I suppose that's why this is so good, because it's sort of like a past that they never want to talk about. So of course that's going to lead to some interesting interactions when Peter finds out about it, and we'll also get the full story behind that of what actually was going on between Harry and Mary Jane, because we do know that Mary Jane liked Peter before he got bit by the spider as well. So it's a little bit confusing, but we'll find out eventually. We also saw Spider-Man just then taking on that guy with what seemed like electric powers. I don't necessarily remember his name right now, but we did hear the mention of adamantium. Obviously, that's got something to do with Wolverine. Maybe that's some kind of Easter egg towards Wolverine or something like that. Maybe there was a Wolverine movie coming out at the time, you know, like with the X-Men movies or something. I don't know. And we also discovered that it's companies like Roxxon and Oscorp that are doing these sorts of shady deals. Now, Roxxon is actually a major company that causes a bunch of crazy stuff to happen in the Ultimate Universe, so keep your eye out for those. Now, I absolutely loved it just how sarcastic Spider-Man was during this fight, and especially at the end of the fight when he was like, yeah, make sure you blame the crime on me and all this. It was just awesome to see him like that, taking everything lightheartedly, almost like he expected them to act the way they did. It was just awesome. We also begin to see that obviously Spider-Man, after Gwen Stacy died, his head hasn't been in the game, all of this messed up stuff has happened to him, and he wasn't actually supposed to be carrying on being Spider-Man, but he still does it. It seems to be something that he can't quite escape, and the Spider-Man responsibility continues to hang over him, still causing him to miss school and miss his lunch, and it's just getting in the way of his life. And it seems like this is probably the lowest point that Peter has been in terms of his Spider-Man life in the Ultimate Spider-Man series so far. It's almost like he's fallen into a pit that he can't get himself out of, and it seems to be affecting every part of his life: his Spider-Man life, his Peter Parker life, his relationship with Mary Jane. And with the return of Harry Osborn, what you've got to remember is that Harry Osborn saw Spider-Man with his mask off, so he knows that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. If you remember, like literally like 30 issues ago, 40 issues ago or something like that, ages ago, Spider-Man was fighting Green Goblin and Harry Osborn actually stabbed the Green Goblin in the back, and ever since then Harry Osborn has known that Peter is Spider-Man, and Harry has been missing ever since. So the return of Harry Osborn is going to add a hell of a lot more stress to Peter Parker's life, and it's kind of jumping into his personal life as Peter Parker and his Spider-Man life as well, because Harry Osborn is kind of now gained access to both, considering he knows that Peter's Spider-Man as well. So it's a tricky situation for Peter to be in. Now, I'd also like to mention that you can tell that the death of Uncle Ben and the death of Gwen Stacy has taken its toll on Peter and Aunt May quite drastically, to the point where they actually need to move house because they can't stand living there anymore, because so much has happened there, so much death, so many bad memories, and so they're just getting out of there. And I think that's a really physical sort of visual way to show how Peter and Aunt May are dealing with the situation. I don't know if you saw it back there, but there was a typo when Aunt May was speaking. She said, "I thought Mary Jane was coming back," and in the word thought there was a typo. It was actually spelt wrong. So there you go. That is proof that even in comic books, there can be mistakes. Now, going back to what's happening in the comic, we've got Harry Osborn coming out of the shadows in Peter Parker's basement, obviously knowing that he's Spider-Man, and you can tell that he's being really shady. We don't exactly know where he's been, we don't know what's happened to him. He could be an insane psychopath by now, and we wouldn't even know it. Obviously, I already know what's happened, but it's going to be interesting to see what you guys think about Harry Osborn and what kind of gets revealed in the future of these issues. And I don't know whether you guys see it, but there's almost like there's a hint of Norman Osborn within Harry Osborn, but I mean that dark sort of look that Norman Osborn gives. It's pretty creepy. Now, as we're coming up to the final page of the issue, we get Harry Osborn revealing to Peter Parker that him and Mary Jane were boyfriend and girlfriend. And to be honest, I feel like Harry maybe is a little bit twisted, like he's a little bit attached to Mary Jane, because he never mentioned this before, so we'll just have to see where the craziness takes us. But that is the end of the issue. Alright, so that issue was so freaking crazy. Like, we had all this mental stuff going on. Like, we had Harry Osborn returning, we had that twist at the end with Mary Jane and Harry Osborn dating, especially with the flashbacks at the beginning. It was, I wouldn't say close to Peter and Mary Jane becoming into a relationship or anything, but there was, like, obviously when Peter got bit by the spider, Harry was seeing Mary Jane or something along those lines was going on, and it was never really mentioned in the Ultimate Spider-Man series, in the beginning anyway, and so it's quite a twist and a shock to the audience when that comes back around in these issues now, considering what Peter and Mary Jane have been through anyway. The fact that Harry Osborn knows that Peter Parker is Spider-Man now is also going to have some effects as well, and Harry is not exactly saying, like, yeah, he's been a little bit shady, considering like he's just there in Peter's basement and randomly knows that Peter's, well, he doesn't randomly know, but you know what I mean. It's like he's been missing for a while. But that is something that we're gonna have to find out in the next issue. So for now, I'm just gonna give this issue an 8 out of 10. It's actually really interesting to see what Peter's going through, and you can just see that he's still traumatized. He's still got all this stuff going on in his head, doesn't exactly know what to do. He's just kind of in limbo at the minute, I suppose, and he's having a go at certain characters that don't actually need to have an argument with him. It's just kind of jumping the gun. So yeah, I'm going to end the video there, guys, but if you want these videos earlier than everybody else, then become a patron, and of course there's loads of other stuff that you can get as well, so check it out, the link is in the description. And don't forget, if you like this video, then hit the like button, and if you want more, hit the subscribe button. Make sure you follow me on Instagram for live updates on that new Instagram update, Insta story thing or whatever it was. It's actually really interesting, and it's actually pretty cool, so yeah, follow me on there, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next video.